This episode of Brains on Games is about outdoor adventures. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode we're going to talk about, I'm super excited to talk about this game. It's up on Kickstarter right now, so this is a preview of a game that's already up on Kickstarter, and I was super excited when the folks at Kanazi Games sent this my way. It's a game called Muskoka. Why was I excited about this? Well, first of all, it's a beautiful game. Second of all, Muskoka, Ontario is a place that's not too far from where I live, so I'm familiar with some of these locations. This is a game for kids aged 8 and up. You can play with between 2 and 6 players, and games last anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. Let's take a deeper look at Muskoka. Muskoka is a light route planning game that is set in an area of Ontario, in cottage country in Ontario, where lots of people around here like to go on their holidays. But it's a game that anyone who enjoys those kind of outdoor adventures or cottage country holidays can really identify with. There's no question about that. It's one of those games where you're doing things that most of us have probably done at some point in our lives. You've got a board that is a map of that area of the world, and you can probably see, I'll put up a picture from Apple Maps. This is what the map looks like, but the board is gorgeous. And it's one of those boards, it's a little bit like the Scythe board. You'll be looking closely at all the little details in the artwork on this thing. In fact, I think one of the stretch goals for the Kickstarter campaign is a digital poster of this board, and it's a great looking board. And they do have little, not quite the same Easter eggs like the Scythe board does, but you've got your little boat cruise over here, and there's a concert stage here on the lake. So there's all kinds of little things that you'll notice if you look closely at this board. You won't be able to see the whole thing. I'll put up a picture of the whole board, maybe, but on this little camera, you won't be able to see the whole thing. What you're doing in this game is you're trying to plan out these routes to have the most varied and exciting holiday in this Muskoka area. So you need to take trips around this board of varying lengths. So in order to win the game, you must have visited a certain location. You must have taken little trips, these journeys that are, with one space in between the two places that you're visiting. You need a 1 space, a 2 space, a 3 space, a 4 space, a 5 space journey. You're going to get these little coins that have animals on one side. So the 1 space is a loonie, which is perfect for a game that's set in Canada, all the way up to the final one. The 5 space journey has a moose on the back. So you're going to want one each of those. You have to have visited one certain location on the map, and you also need to have at least 25 points in order to win the game. That's when the game is going to end. You'll start the game by drawing 2 of these location cards, and these are just the names of locations around the board. The first one that you draw is going to be your starting location. The second one goes face down. That's your secret destination. That's the detour that you have to take in order to win the game. Once you get to that spot, you flip over the card so everybody knows that you've met that part of the victory condition. And then you're drafting these cards or drawing cards from the deck. So 3 of these cards are going to be face up on the board, but you can also draw a face down one if you want. One of the interesting things about these cards, well, first of all, you've got things like taking a jet ski, swimming, hiking, riding your 4-wheeler, going for a drive. These all correspond to different spaces on the board. So in order to go from here to here, I need 2 hiking cards in order to do that. So there's going to be 3 cards that are face up on the board. So there's some open drafting, or I can draw a face down one. But one interesting thing that I like about these cards is that there are different things that you would do on land or in the lake. So you can swim or take a canoe or take your jet ski or a boat on the lake, and you're hiking or driving or taking your 4-wheeler if you're going on land. And the cards have different backs. They're all mixed up and shuffled together, but I can tell if a face down card is going to be a card that will help me out on land or if it's one that's going to be better on the water. And then you get to decide if you want to play a rest and relaxation card. You don't start the game with one of those cards. You get to draw them in the next phase of your turn. This deck is fantastic. They've got an Adirondack chair on the back, and the idea here is that if you play one of these, you're kind of taking a break from that journey. But these cards are fantastic. So not only the backs of them are great, so are the front and what they can do. They give you some kind of an ability if you have one that you can play. Some of them are just cards that give you points. So if you happen to go fishing or if you find a squirrel in your journey, some of them might be things like going on a steamboat cruise on the lake or playing a game of golf. What do you do if you play golf? Every other player has to give you one of their cards, which is a fantastic one. There are some take that elements of the rest and relaxation cards. Interestingly, on the map, when you are moving around, you can't block other players. Multiple players can be on the same space. You're not blocking any routes. The only take that thing really you can do is play these rest and relaxation cards. Other than drawing a card that maybe your friend wanted. The campfire card got played on me in the first game that we played, which forced me to discard. I had to burn half of the cards in my hand. You might get to draft extra cards. If you play a zipline card, you get to draft the land-based cards that are face up in front of you, and there's only 3 face-up cards at any given time. Of course, there's a Canada Day card. This is a Canada Day game about going on holidays in the summer. So you've got a Canada Day card, and that allows you to play multiple cards to go on 2 journeys in the next phase of the game. The final phase of your turn is you can discard some cards to take a journey. So as I said earlier, if I discard 2 hiking cards, I can move from here to here, and then I'm going to get that 2-point journey. I'll put that coin right in front of me. If you choose not to go on a journey or you don't have the right cards to get where you want to go, so you are doing some route planning, right? Because you need to get that variety of journeys, plus you need to have a certain number of points. So you may want to take the lake route rather than going by land. You may decide not to go on a journey until you can get the specific one that's going to take you to a place that will allow you to get your 4-point journey on the next turn. So there is some route planning, some set collection in order to travel across those routes. If you choose not to take that trip, you can discard 2 of those exploration cards. 2 biking cards or hiking or jet ski cards. They don't have to match any of the cards from your hand in order to draw one of those rest and relaxation cards. Or of course you can pass and do nothing at all. Maybe you want to save your cards this turn until you can draw 2 more in the next turn, and then you can start to take some actions. So there's a bit of take that in this game, but it's kind of relaxing sort of things that you would be doing if you were on a holiday. You're sitting around a campfire, you're playing around a golf. So nobody's feelings were hurt when we played those take that cards in our game. We sort of had a laugh and we were looking at the picture on the card and thinking about the last time we were at a campfire or about the fireworks for Canada Day. All of those things were happening when you play the game. We're looking closely at the map and finding the drive-in theater or the steamboat or that little concert stage and thinking, wow, how great would it be to be sitting on a raft or on a dock and watching a concert while you're on the water. Fantastic. So it is one of those relaxing games that you might be playing maybe while you're at the cottage, or if you're on a holiday, or if you're planning on going on a holiday that involves these outdoor kinds of adventures, golfing and zip lining and things like that. And that is my question for you this episode. What are the games that you would want to have on your shelf at your cottage when you're away and you're doing outdoor kinds of activities? What if you had to come in, if it was a rainy day, what kinds of relaxing games would you want to play? But also, what we need to talk about here is what skills are you practicing or developing when you're playing a game like Muskoka? Well, of course, you've got this board where you're planning out those routes and you're trying to get from one place to another and deciding, do I want to go by land or over the lake? Do I have the right cards to do that? And your spatial skills are involved. You're doing a bit of spatial reasoning. Nobody can block your pathway here, although there is a hitchhiking card in the rest and relaxation stack that allows you to tag along with another player on their trip. You might be thinking about that, but there's not anything too strenuous in terms of where are you going to go. You've got certain destinations that you want to hit and journeys of certain lengths that you want to go on. You are exercising those spatial skills though, but you're also budgeting, you're planning ahead those routes and you're budgeting those cards in your hand. You're deciding, do I want to give up 2 of these cards in order to take a chance and get a great ability from that rest and relaxation deck? And if you are planning ahead, you're budgeting actions or cards in this case, then what you're doing is practicing the executive functioning skills, the skills and behaviors that you need to work towards a goal. And those skills are involved in a lot of these kinds of strategy games. But like I said, this is a good, accessible, entry-level strategy game that even the younger kids can play, that's reminiscent of more complex set collection route planning games, maybe like, say, Ticket to Ride, for example, but it's much simpler than those ones. Final thoughts about Muskoka. Well, this is, if you've watched any episode of this show, you know I am a sucker for awesome artwork, and this board is gorgeous. It really appealed to me as soon as I unfolded it from the box. Fantastic that there's going to be a poster version of this thing along with the campaign. I love the artwork on the back, the Adirondack chair on the back of that rest and relaxation deck. Like I said, it's a very visually appealing game. It's also a game that has that relatable theme. You know, lots of games that I play, it involves doing things that I've never done before, planning trade routes or running a soccer team or whatever. But this one is, you know, of course I've hiked and I've biked and I've been on a jet ski and a boat and a canoe and I've done all of these things. I've been to Muskoka. So it's super relatable for anyone who's done those sort of outdoor, you know, zip lining or golfing or camping kind of holiday trips. And I really like having an opportunity to play those kinds of games. And it's just a relaxing, it's thinky enough, but not super thinky. So it is the kind of game that you would sit over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea with a couple of other people or around near a campfire with a few other people. And, you know, you just wander around Muskoka taking these little trips and playing those Canada Day cards. There's a Victoria Day card in that deck as well. So it's super Canadian in its theme, which I like as well. And that, in a nutshell, is Muskoka. Thanks so much to the folks over at Kanazi Games for sending this game my way. I'll put information about the Kickstarter campaign in the notes, the show notes of this episode. If you want to answer the question about the best cottage games, or if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, you can leave them in the comment section below the video, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca, of course, is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.